Good evening, everybody. This is a new human experience podcast, and tonight is August the 15th, 2019. The topic tonight is emotional freedom. And it's actually interesting that we are talking about emotional freedom today. Tonight is actually a full moon night. And usually when it's full moon, people are full of emotions. Or I should say, if there's any emotions that is, or if you're somehow triggered, then a full moon would really exaggerate all of that. So, which is a great time for us to talk about emotional freedom, talk about how to process emotions so that emotions is serving you rather than you being run by your emotions. So first, let me talk a little bit about how come we have emotions and what is the use of emotion. How come we want emotions, and how come sometimes emotions get out of hand. So first is, we are infinite beings having a human experience, and we take on this form so that we can have physical sensorial experiences. And our emotions is really part of our physical sensorial body, and so that it can allow us to have a rich, full experience. So let me give you kind of an example. For example, if you want to go for a swim in the ocean, and looking at a picture of somebody swimming in the ocean versus actually seeing a video of someone that is swimming in the ocean versus you yourself actually having that experience of jumping into the ocean and swimming around, is absolutely, you feel your hands moving, you can feel your body being immersed in water, and also how the temperature of the water, and feeling the water on your face, and breathing, and all the environment around you. And so emotions is like that. Emotions allow us to not just give us a full 100% experience of it, not just like looking at a picture of an experience, not even looking at a video of someone else having the experience, is that you actually having the full experience of it. And also, like even if you have the experience, the sensorial experience of it, is when you are actually swimming, when you're actually having that experience, it evokes other experience that you have that's related to being submerged in water as well. For example, let's just say that the night before you going to the ocean to have a swim, you actually binge watched like all two of I forgot how many sequels of Jaws there were. If you binge watch all of those and your mind has been all filled with all that excitement and fear of hearing the sound of like the musical theme of Jaws, and then all of that experience, and then the next day actually going into the water and swimming, you would actually have another layer of experience, not just the physical sensation of swimming in the water, but also all the experience of other times or any other memories, whether it is your own or someone else's, or even watching a movie. All those experience is kind of added to the physical sensorial experience of swimming in water. So that is what emotions add to our experience as a human being. That's why experience is actually our airline. It allows us as the eternal being to actually have a full, complete experience, or as complete as we have been able to think of making it so far. And just to kind of give an example of, or give the arc of what an emotion is, what the experience arc of an emotion is. So it's really the first thing is the stimulus or the event. So for example, if you jump into the water, so then the event is your body hitting the water. Awareness, and then the second step is awareness and also your reaction. So your awareness is really you being aware that you are surrounded by water, your body is being held in water, and then your reaction as well. If you are a strong swimmer, or if this is the first time that you've ever been in the ocean, then your reaction will be very different. And then comes the next step is really the response, and or sometimes it's the remedy. It is how you respond to your body being immersed in water, which you start to swim. And whether you are a good swimmer, then you know exactly what you're doing, or if you don't know how to swim very well, the response may be a little panic and all of that, or maybe you would just naturally just lie back and let yourself float. That can be a response as well. And then the fourth step is really resolution. So when the experience of that emotion, that event of being in water, and whatever the physical sensation of being in the water, whether it is something that is very peaceful and calm, or whether it is something that evokes fear and excitement or frustration, or whatever it is that you associate with being in water. And then the last step is resolution, is how do you integrate that experience into your body, into your neurology. So those are the steps of, or I should say the arc of the emotion, is you getting stimulated, and then you are fully into the reaction, and then you start to have a response. If you don't like the experience, then your response may be to resist it, or add in other emotions as well. And then the last part is somehow the experience is complete, and somehow there is a resolution. Let's say if you are fearful, then you may want to get back into dry land. So, and at the moment when everything is said and done, when the emotion is completely felt and spent, then that is the resolution. So those are the 4 steps of what naturally emotions will do in the body. It just goes through an arc, and at the end of it, when the full emotional response in your body is completely resolved, then you become neutral again, and you are ready for the next experience. So the reasons, or the times when emotions become an issue, is somehow we resist an experience. We resist the emotions. So for example, let's say for example, I just want to give, let's say somebody falls in love. They meet, a young girl meet the man of his, or the handsome man of her dreams, and they start to date, and they like each other. However, for whatever reason, they have to go their separate ways. So then the emotional part starts to kick in, because it is really the end of a relationship evokes a lot of emotions. And if this is the first time you ever fell in love, or the first time that you have an intense experience of love and love lost, then the experience, if you resist the experience, then that experience somehow, it does not go through the full arc of resolution. Somehow, because of your resistance, it gets looped. It's keep on coming, and the you may start to come up with reasons to explain how come this didn't work out, how come the relationship didn't work out. And we're very creative beings, so we may create stories like, oh, because I'm not good enough, or because our families didn't like each other, or because that's like whatever other reasons that we can think of that may not be the right reason. However, because we resist accepting that fact, that reality of life, so we come up with all sorts of stories, all sorts of beliefs that help us cope with how come this is the case. And when we don't process the emotions, and when things get, when the similar experience get triggered and kind of looped around enough times, then that stuck emotions would gradually, or may gradually, get to the point where it becomes a depression, for example. It can get to that, to be like that, because of something that is triggered by a love loss. So maybe the first time you had a end of a relationship, you had that, and because you're young, it only lasted, let's say, for 7 days. And then if something similar happens, and this time, because you don't have you have not resolved the first one yet, and it's the second time if this happens, then you have more reasons to believe somehow that there's something wrong with you. So that belief becomes more and more reinforced until 30 years down the road, you may suddenly get to the point where you become really depressed that how come I'm not loved? How come I'm not worthy of love? And you just create all of that for you. And that's when emotions start to become an issue, is that we judge a certain outcome. We have certain expectations and it's not met. And when that event happens over and over again, a lot of times it may happen like that because our soul wants us to get past that, wants us to really get a handle on that emotion, and really, because of that, to help us grow spiritually and in wisdom. That's why we tend to, or sometimes may get into a point where we re-experience similar things. May not be with the same person. It could be different persons, but similar relationship. And that's when we know that there is a stuck emotions there. So how do we get out of that stuck emotions? Because emotions is not a bad thing itself. It's just our resistance to it, our judgment to it, that perpetuates it. Whatever it is that you resist, it's something that you that will persist. So of course, the first thing is I would suggest is to really give yourself some time to fully experience that emotion, whether it is sadness or it could be anger, or it could be frustration. Just allow yourself time to fully experience it. Let yourself get to the point where you can feel the emotions, and whatever beliefs that comes up, don't remember them, jot them down, so that when the emotions itself is kind of calmer, then you can go back and process it. So when you're in the grips of an emotion, when you are really at the height of being sad or being angry or being frustrated or being jealous or whatever it is, when you're in the height of an emotion, when you're in that emotional wave, then understand that the only thing you can do is really allow that emotion to take its course. Fully experience it. Don't try to resist it. Don't try to say, oh, I hate being sad, or I hate being angry, or I really don't like it when I'm angry, or I lash out and say things that I regret later on. Don't. Just allow yourself to completely feel that emotion, and allow that overwhelming sense of emotions just come out. Allow it to come out, let it needs to, it's energy. And when the energy needs to be moved out and you try to stop it, that's when energy can become stuck and hard to get rid of. So when you recognize that something, you're being overwhelmed by an emotion, then allow it to overwhelm you. Just sit there, no need to make any stories up, no need to think of any reasons. Just allow it to go through. It's just like when you are at the ocean and there's a big wave coming at you. If you try to run, then it actually may not serve you very well. It's just stand there and allow the wave to come. It may go over your head a little bit, however, it will die down soon enough and you will still be able to still have breath left in you. Because the energy, when you don't try to hold it back, when you don't try to resist it, it will just come, and then at its height, it has to come down when there's no resistance. And when it comes down, it may take 15 minutes, it may take an hour, it may take a couple of hours. Who knows? It depends on how much you're triggered. When you're in the grips of an emotion, just allow it to come and allow it to calm down. And when you calm down, then that's when you can actually get to work. That's when you can actually start to examine what triggered that wave of emotion. What is the story behind it? And when you start to look at that, so let's get back to the emotions. Let's say of that young first time somebody has a heartbreak. So what are the reasons that they may have that emotion? One of the reasons maybe it's they have a belief that have an expectation that this is the person that is going to make me happy. And so when you tie your own happiness to someone else that is outside of you, and when that person is no longer there, of course you're going to feel like of course you're going to feel like the bottom just fell off, and you just can't help yourself but be overwhelmed by sadness. And that belief that your happiness is dependent on someone outside of you, it's just a belief. It's not necessarily true. And there may be other things. It may be that you feel that you need to have this relationship or this particular person so that that person makes you look good in front of other people. And when that person left, it's kind of like being left out. So all of these other expectations, beliefs that somehow you're at risk, your happiness is at risk, or your ego somehow is being assaulted by this relationship not working. So those are the beliefs that you need to take a look at and examine and start to dislodge them and start to let go and look at them. It may actually be something that is useful for you. It depends on the belief. Or it may be something that is what it is that you need to just look at and know that it is an illusion and let go. So that's the work that needs to be done. Because when all the expectations and when all the beliefs that's supporting you to keep that emotion around, then you are actually able to let go of all the sadness, all the other things, beliefs and judgment, so that when the next event come, when somebody else comes along, it didn't work out, then you won't be, you will just be dealing with that one thing. It's not another layer. You only have one layer to deal with at one time. And it's much easier to let go of one layer at a time rather than have all, like each time something similar happens and you don't look at it, then that particular emotion will become layered. So one layer upon another until 10, 20 years down the road, it's so much harder and it takes so much more effort to excavate and get to the truth of who you are, which is you are joy, light, love. You are a piece of the divine, and um, and that you are not really at the mercy of someone else. You are the one that's creating your own reality, and your soul created this person and this particular relationship so that you can learn how to love yourself and be in love with yourself. And when you start to get to that level where you know that just because someone ended a relationship with you doesn't mean that you are not worthy of love. It is just that that person has some other path that they need to go in, and all they are here to do is just to trigger you so that you can start to look inside rather than outside. So all of these things are the things that the work that can be done so that your emotions is clean and clear, and there's no stuck emotions, there's no layers. There's just when you are going through life, and sometimes life throws you a hardball, and it doesn't mean that life is bad. It's just that, those are the times when you get to learn the most, is when you know that no matter what life throws at you, you get to the point where you are so grounded in your own self, in your own knowing, that when life throws you a hardball, you just know that you can catch it, however it is that you need to do in order to catch it, and be able to just go with the throw. And that's what we are here to learn as the soul. And so just to recap is how to deal with getting to the point where we are emotionally free. We have emotional freedom. Is that first is really to allow, when we are in the depth of an emotion, to just allow the emotions to take its course. And when you get to the point where you are more calm and more composed, then you can start to look at all the beliefs or the judgment that you have that allows you to have this particular experience of emotion, and look at it for whatever it is that's worth, and get the wisdom out of all the beliefs and all the judgment, and let go of the things that needed to be let go of, and fully process all your beliefs, and really get to the point where you you choose who you are and how you want to feel, rather than being at the mercy of someone else's belief, that you need to look a certain way or have a certain kind of relationship in order for you to feel good about yourself. As you get to the point where you can go through life being who you are, responding to life, totally being comfortable in your own skin, and that's when you can become emotionally free. You get emotional freedom, and that doesn't mean that you may never be overwhelmed by an emotion. That does not mean that you may never experience loss, anything like that. It just means that when life hits you, and you can just go through it and be able to come out the other end, still knowing that this is your creation. You created that experience for yourself, and you have fully experienced it, and you have learned from it, and be able to actually get to the point where you know and be able to let go of even more parts of you that is not supporting you to be the joy, light, love that you truly are. And when you get to that point, then you can experience emotions, but not be the hostage of your emotions. And it gets to the point where your emotions serve you, not the other way around. Let's see.